This is the Sultanate of Oman television with the latest world news. First, the headlines. The Food Security Lab concludes with 128 initiatives and projects worth 1.3 billion Omani riyals. A number of agreements and contracts are signed to establish projects in the fields of agriculture and pisciculture within the activities of the Food Security Lab. And the Ministry of Health reports 31 new COVID-19 cases with no COVID-19 fatalities. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sends a cabal of greetings to His Excellency President Xi Jinping of People's Republic of China on the 72nd anniversary of the establishment of the Republic. His Majesty the Sultan also sent a cabal of greetings to His Excellency President Nikos Anastasiadis of Cyprus on his country's Independence Day anniversary. And His Majesty sends a cabal of greetings to His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria on his country's National Day. The activities of the Food Security Laboratory, which was organized by the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Water Resources in cooperation with the follow-up unit for the implementation of Oman Vision 2040, were concluded. Here is the detail of that report.
The activities of the Food Security Lab were concluded today with 128 initiatives and projects in the agricultural, fisheries and water resources sectors, as well as some enabling initiatives for the food security sector, with an investment value of 1.3 billion Omani riyals. The initiatives and projects are planned to be implemented throughout the next 5 years.
During the labs, the involvement of all entities from government, private sectors, NGOs, we make sure that the business or the business environment fit with the Oman Vision 2040 in terms of regulation, in terms of finance, in terms of easing the environment for the investor. In the future, we hopefully will work very close with the private sector in terms of looking where's the gap in food security. There's certain crops which we reach 100%, and there's certain crops which is below 50%. So the focus will be mainly for those crops which is more than 75%. We'll focus in the downstream manufacturing of those products. In terms of those crops which is less than 50%, I will focus to make sure that those lands available with the water availability to focus on certain crops and fruits and veg and also livestock and fisheries.
The Food Security Lab came within the Invest in Oman program, endeavored to attract foreign investments to the Sultanate, in line with the economic stimulus plans and the priorities of achieving Oman Vision 2040.
Such 102 projects will produce around 1 million ton of different food projects. When we're talking about such 102 projects, we are talking about also another 26 initiatives that have been developed to support and enable those projects in the sector. Of course, the initiative that started in April has been done to support the Oman 2040 vision to develop a diverse economy and also to enable different sectors to produce enough job opportunities for the Omanis in the sectors.
Today we are in Oman, we are a net exporter of the fisheries. So we have already accommodated the local market in Oman, and now we are exporting to outside Oman. Yet there are many risks which are involved with this sector, including the environmental risks, which can have a big impact on the biomass that we have today in Oman. So this is why it is very important also to explore different means of producing fish. And one of the most important means that we are currently tackling in terms of investments is the aquaculture.
During the event, 8 agreements and contracts were signed, including an agreement for planting coconut trees in the Dhofar Governorate, a contract for a commercial banana cultivation project in Maghsar in the Wilaya of Musana'a, a lease contract for pomegranate and olive farms in Al Jabal Al Akhdar, an agreement for developing Wadi Dayqa Dam in the Wilaya of Qurayat, a usufruct contract for a piece of land allocated for establishing a commercial fish farming project, an agreement to establish, manage and operate an inspection and examination unit for containers and trucks exporting and importing fish, agricultural, livestock and food products in the Dhofar Governorate, and an investment contract for a piece of land designated for establishing a fish collection center in Khuwaima in the Wilaya of Ja'lan Bani Bu Ali. Among the outcomes of the Food Security Lab is the National Water Strategy Initiative, which is hoped to transform the water sector into an investment sector and enhance its investment revenues to achieve water security and sustainability of water resources in the Sultanate. Salih Bakhalfan al-Rahbi, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
Thank you, Saleh. There. In a statement to Oman Television, His Excellency Dr. Saud bin Hamoud Al Habsi, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Water Resources, said that both the agreement and the private sector have invested in food security in the past, resulting in achieving positive rates in some food categories. His Excellency added that the country continues to invest to buff up its food security, pointing up that self-sufficiency in fisheries sector has reached 150%, while dates food is nearing 100%. His Excellency pointed out that the more focus is needed in the manufacturing process and on some crops where food sufficiency rate is low. The Sultanate Pavilion in Expo 2020 Dubai is ready to receive visitors tomorrow. The pavilion will include a series of events and Omani contributions in various fields over the period of 6 months. These will include a representation of what the country has to offer, such as the Al Irfan City experience as a green city and products from the land of frankincense, which is widely famous in the governorate of Dhofar. The pavilion is equipped with an audiovisual immersive technology to engage an all-round memorable experience to the visitors. The Minister of Health reported 31 new COVID-19 cases and 286 recoveries during the last 24 hours. There were no fatalities recorded. The ministry also reported that the total number of COVID-19 cases registered in the Sultanate reached 303,769, while the total number of deaths reached 4,096. The total recovered cases reached 297,832. The ministry indicated that the total number of inpatients reached 30, of which 17 are in intensive care units around healthcare institutions in the country. The latest analysis of National Multi-Hazards Early Warning Center shows a tropical depression northeast of the Arabian Sea with a wind speed of 31 to 50 kilometers per hour around the center. The tropical depression is expected to move towards west to northwest of the Indian and Pakistani coasts, with chances of high to moderate clouds over the northern governorates of the Sultanate without any direct effect on the Sultanate during the upcoming 48 hours. The initial charts show the movement of the tropical condition later towards the Sea of Oman with chances of rainfall over the northern governorates. Seas will be moderate to rough along the coast of the Sultanate overlooking the Arabian Sea and the coast of the governorate of South Sharqiya with a maximum wave height of 3 to 4 meters. On the rest of the coast of the Sea of Oman, it will be moderate to rough with a maximum wave height of 2 to 3 meters starting from tomorrow, Friday. The Public Authority for Civil Aviation advises public to follow the latest official weather bulletins and reports on developments of the tropical condition. His Excellency Lieutenant General Eid bin Awad al-Shahlawi, commander of the Gulf Cooperation Council Countries Unified Military Command, and his accompanying delegation visited the National Defense College. During the visit, they were briefed about the college and its facilities and modern equipment which contribute in achieving the college's message and its vision in preparing national leading cadres. The Sultanate joins the global community in celebrating World Maritime Day on September 38th. Asyad Group is working on achieving its vision to build a comprehensive logistics system supported by a promising national workforce in maritime sector. The logistics sector never stopped during COVID-19 peak period in order to meet the customers' needs and ensure non-interruption of delivery of goods across the globe. The commemorative event, Asyad Group released a statement that ports of Khasab, Suwaiq, Shinas and Sultan Qaboos achieved high operation results, including increase in the number of ships docked by 10%, an increase in the number of fruits and vegetables handled in the ports by 16%. Meanwhile, the ship handled in ports soared by 67%. To support the job market with national workforce in logistic fields, Asyad welcomed 5 Omani captains and others who assumed mechanical supervisory roles, while International Maritime College Oman graduate over the past 5 years more than 2,000 specialists in maritime and logistics fields. In its first meeting of the year, the Municipal Council in the Governorate of Dakhiliya discussed different development and services issues related to citizens' needs and their future aspirations. It also discussed enhancing the level of service in various sectors and reforming committees that deals with various initiatives and municipal roles. Among municipal projects and initiatives tackled by the council were allocation of a place for a central livestock market and a slaughterhouse that serve all wilayas of the governorate, in addition to approving some urban schematic pockets in the governorate in order to provide land plots with all types of use for citizens. The Central Wholesale Fish Market recorded an increase in the quantity of fish in the market till the end of August of the current year, with more than 2,300 tons compared to the same period last year, at sales value of around 1 million Omani Riyals. Efforts are being exerted to make the market an outlet for selling fish locally and regionally. The market will be connected with 5 fish markets in the Sultanate very soon. Bihar electronic platform of the market started electronic marketing of fish in a number of Arab and European countries. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and yet to come in our news bulletin, a large number of contenders are nominated for 2021 Nobel Peace Prize. Once again, welcome to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Jordan said it has discussed ways to expedite Egyptian natural gas shipment via its territory and Syria to Lebanon, which is dealing with a grueling energy crisis. Prime Minister Bishar Kassaouene arrived in Beirut today, the first foreign official to visit Lebanon's new prime minister, who took office earlier this month. Lebanon is witnessing an economic crisis described as one of the world's worst since the 1850s. Shortages of medicine, fuel and basic supplies have often brought to the country to stand still, while political disagreements have foiled efforts to form a government to negotiate a rescue package with international financial institutions. Khassaoune said in a press conference with Lebanon's Prime Minister Najib Mikati that top officials discussed finding ways to expedite Lebanon receiving Egyptian gas. He said that there are efforts to provide Lebanon with some electricity from Jordan. The regional director of the International Federation of the Red Cross, IFRC, said today that if money isn't restored to pay for wages and services in Afghanistan, the coming of winter could spell a major humanitarian crisis. Alexander Matteo was speaking at a press conference in Kabul.
Afghanistan is going to enter an extremely difficult few months, possibly beyond that, which would be categorized as a major humanitarian crisis because of the severity with which it will affect people and the numbers of people that it will affect. And I know this is not easy, but there needs to be some solution to the financial flows into Afghanistan to ensure that at least salaries can be paid and that essential supplies, power and water being two of them, can be procured. The absence of that will seriously exacerbate vulnerability for ordinary Afghans. There must be an alternative financial flow to enable the primary health system, or the health sector generally, but particularly the primary health services, to continue.
Several tornadoes hit the northern German coastal city of Kiel yesterday evening. Several people were caught by the twister and some were seriously injured. According to the fire department, 6 people were taken to hospitals, 3 seriously injured and 3 slightly hurt. At the same time, several houses in another part of the city were damaged by further tornadoes. Although up to 60 tornadoes are counted in Germany each year, they are rarely as strong as those of yesterday. Now, in the world, there are 329 candidates for the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize, the third highest number of contenders for the prestigious award ever. Here are the details coming up from this report by Sausan Bint Ali As-Suleimaniya.
The winner of the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize will be announced on October 8th. The World Health Organization is one of the possible contenders. It is an agency of the United Nations set up in 1948 to improve health globally. It has more than 7,000 people working in 150 country offices, 6 regional offices, and its Geneva headquarters. Belarusian opposition leaders Maria Kolesnikova and Veronika Tsepkalo are also among nominees for Nobel Peace Prize this year. They are nominated for their struggles for fair elections and for inspiring peaceful opposition against the illegitimate regime in Belarus. A Hong Kong news website is among those nominated for this year's Nobel Peace Prize as well. Hong Kong Free Press was founded in 2015 by British-born Hong Kong resident Tom Grundy, who is also the editor-in-chief. According to its website, it is a non-profit, impartial English-language newspaper run by journalists and completely independent. It is funded entirely by private donations. Teenage climate activist Greta Thunberg is also among the contenders for the 2021 Nobel Peace Prize. Sweden's Thunberg pioneered a climate change campaign that swelled from a one-person school strike by the then 15-year-old to a worldwide movement, drawing in millions of school children and adults who are demanding action on climate change. Thunberg first drew attention in August 2018 when she skipped school to protest outside the Swedish parliament each Friday. She was soon joined by a small group of other school strikers in Stockholm before the campaign attracted tens of thousands of students in more than 24 countries taking part in Friday school strikes around the world. This year's Nobel Prizes, awarded for achievement in medicine, physics, chemistry, literature, peace, and economics, will be announced from 4th to 11th of October with the Nobel Peace Prize announced on October 8th. The Nobel Prizes were created in the will of Swedish dynamite inventor and businessman Alfred Nobel and have been awarded since 1901.
You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and now, before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Food Security Lab concludes with 128 initiatives and projects worth 1.3 billion Omani riyals. A number of agreements and contracts are signed to establish projects in the fields of agriculture and sea culture within the activities of the Food Security Lab. And the Ministry of Health reports 31 new COVID-19 cases with no COVID-19 fatalities. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin directed by Salim bin Mohammed Al-Butani and Abdul Latif Al-Balushi, editor, English News. From me, Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rubi'i, and the entire news team, we thank you for joining us. Wish you a pleasant evening and good night.